District Attorney Sandra, Doorley, Sheriff Todd, Baxter. My name is Christopher Chichester. We're 26 Sanders Farm Drive in Penfield, and I have never committed a crime. And that fact is completely irrelevant to you both, because you both are corrupt to your bone marrow. Attached in PDF are 14 Freedom of Information Law documents, and what you're going to do with each one is refuse to comply with each one, despite the fact that I'm demanding, as a citizen and a voter, public information that you were legally required to provide to me. So, when you get into the office on Monday, comply with the language I have written in every Freedom of Information Law document, all 14, and send it to my home address here in Penfield, or to my email, which you can just click reply to. And what you're going to do is refuse. The law is a joke to you, Sandra, Doorley, and Todd Baxter. I'm going to prove it right now when I read each one of these Freedom of Information Law documents. The fact that I have never committed a crime is completely irrelevant to you. The fact that your employees, Todd Baxter, you bald-headed party-switching fraud, hid in the bushes of my neighbors at Sanders Farm Drive waiting for me to come into the house, and then ran across the street at me at midnight, is confirmation that you're a fanatic, an extremist, a sociopath, and a degenerate. And you employ fanatics, extremists, sociopaths, and degenerates. And this is what I'm going to tell the United States Department of Justice and the Office of Governor Andrew Cuomo, because you both require a Moreland Act commission to investigate how you're abridging the civil and constitutional rights of innocent Americans. In the 30-plus years since I was honorably discharged as a 22-year-old Sergeant E5 from 2nd Squadron, 17th Cavalry, 101st Airborne Division Air Assault, Fort Campbell, Kentucky, I have one speeding ticket. That's it. I didn't suddenly lose the difference, the ability to tell the difference between right and wrong, legal and illegal. You don't know the difference between right and wrong, legal and illegal. Party-switching frauds, Sandra, Doorley, and Todd Baxter. Freedom of Information Law. Comply with each one. And you will refuse to comply with each one, especially the list of salaries, because I have a list for the district attorneys and sheriff's office. I'm going to show you $100,000 employees. And when I contact the New York State Controller, I'm going to say, here are these public employees, Sandra, Doorley, and Todd Baxter, the district attorney and sheriff, respectively, of Monroe County, have these $100,000 employees. And perhaps you're familiar, Sandra and Todd, with how public employees abuse overtime. How do you do overtime at the district attorney's and sheriff's office? That's another thing you're refusing to comply with, because accountability is a joke to you. When I worked as a public employee in Albany, you had your 40-hour week, and that's what you were paid for. And then you could take compensatory time beyond that 40th hour, when you were not paid for that compensatory time, and there was no overtime. So, since I knew that compensatory time was not part of your salary, and since I knew there was no overtime, you just worked a 40-hour week, I'm thinking about how you pay your public employees, Sandra and Todd. Do you have compensatory time where public employees are paid? Do you have overtime where public employees are paid? Those are general terms that I'm using, compensatory time and overtime, because I know how you lawyers are at the district attorney's office, where everything has to have a definition. Are you paid, for example, Perry Duckles, and your $129,000 salary, Perry, baby? I just want to get it right. I hope I got that right off the top of my head. Yes, I did, Perry. 129. Here you are, Perry. $129,000 and $525. $129,525. What do you, Perry, do at the district attorney's office being paid $129,525? And who, Perry? What's the name of your assistant district attorney in my case is? First before John P. Lomenzo Jr., next before Paula Metzer. Send me a name. This is a public proceeding. This is, again, confirmation of your nauseating, sickening, vile existence, where you won't even tell me the name of your public employee who stands in Penfield Town Court twice and doesn't talk. And your public employee stands in Penfield Town Court twice and doesn't talk because I haven't committed a crime. I have never committed a crime. Party switching, criminal, corrupt, Sandra, Doorley, and Todd Baxter. Freedom of Information Law. Names and salaries, very public employee at the Monroe County Sheriff's Office of Sheriff Todd Baxter. Here's one of the payrolls you didn't take out of my residence when Leah LaRoque came in here. Who the hell is Leah LaRoque with the search warrant? You can't answer that either, or you refuse to answer, rather. Here's your $100,000 cops, Todd Baxter. $100,000 on just this one page. This is the page that I'm going to write 2,000 words about when I contact the New York State Controllers. Just this one page alone for me is 2,000 words on what I think of your employees. Andrew G. DeLiza, $108,824. Kevin L. Schuppel, $106,130. Jeffrey S. Del Guido, $108,824. William T. Tadeo, $101,843. Lucio Tomasetti, $116,598. What do you, Lucio, do for $116,598? Tell me, Lucio. And they would love you in Bay Ridge, Lucio, baby. Deanie Tuthill, $101,843. Michael T. Fowler, $128,029. What does Michael Fowler do for $128,029, Todd Baxter? That's just $5,000 more than you, Todd, baby. What the hell does he do? Paul J. DeLello, $110,868. Jeffrey C. Wagner, $108,824. Paul G. Vadas, $101,843. Just on this one page. You $100,000 cops, Todd Baxter. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10. You got 10 $100,000 cops. You are such a revolting presence in Monroe County, Todd Baxter. You are fleecing the taxpayers of Monroe County, and this is confirmation of it right here. Speaking of fleecing the taxpayers, party switching Sandra Doorley. Oh, pardon me, honey. Do you have to form another conviction integrity unit at the district attorney's office because you're putting screws to innocent Americans? And now, sweetheart, based on your vast experience at the district attorney's office, can you answer a simple question for me? In courtrooms throughout the United States, does a prosecutor talk in court? What's the answer to that question? Sandra Doorley. Does a prosecutor talk in court? Amanda Bowling, $108,338. Raymond Benitez, $117,798. Elizabeth Buckley, $115,302. Robert Catalano, $113,465. Michelle Crowley, $117,798. Perry Duckles, $129,525. David Dice, $103,599. William Gargan, $113,465. Julie Hahn, $117,798. Michael Harrigan, $108,338. Jennifer Hyatt, $100,188. Leah Mervine Merritt, $101,407. Mark Monahan, $123,817. Matthew Schwartz, $117,798. Sarah Von Stridonk, $113,465. You, Sandra Doorley, at the district attorney's office, with your lawyers, with your attorneys, with your taxpayer civil servants have. These individuals, the number of individuals that are paid $100,000. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I know you were told there would be no math, Sandra, so don't be confused, honey, okay? 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. 16 employees on his payroll for the district attorney's office paid $100,000. How do you justify that, Sandra Doorley? Did the Democrat and Chronicle, you sat down with the editor, Michael Cain, of the Democrat and Chronicle, and he asked you, what are you doing with these 16 employees at the district attorney's office? How are you paying them $100,000? How would you answer that? If the New York State Controller asked you how you decide to pay your employees $100,000, how did you answer that? I was a public employee in Albany and Washington, D.C. I didn't work with anybody. Not one person that made $100,000. Because one of my jobs was to deliver the public employee payroll to the media. And they didn't have to have a Freedom of Information law. The reporter asked me for it, I printed it out and gave it to him. So I knew what everybody made. There's not one person that made $100,000 in Albany or Capitol Hill. What are you doing with taxpayer dollars at the district attorney's office, sheriff's office, Sandra, Doorley, Todd, Baxter? I'm going to repeat that again. The names and salaries of every public employee at the Monroe County Sheriff's Office, Todd Baxter. The names and salaries of every public employee at the Monroe County District Attorney's Office, Sandra, Doorley, 11/25/20 on every one. Comply. How does a public employee earning $60 suddenly take home $80,000? That $20,000 difference is overtime or time and a half. There are public employees that will purposely work a 41st hour and beyond to the 50th hour, to the 60th hour, because they want that money. And perhaps they are doing real work, but they're extending the hours to abuse overtime. This happens throughout America with public employees because it is the corruption of the heart. Do you have corruption of the heart with your public employees at the district attorney's and sheriff's office with overtime? And you will refuse to answer. Freedom of Information law. Total cost of overtime, time and a half, however paid beyond a base salary is calculated at the Monroe County Sheriff's Office, Todd Baxter. The cost of overtime, time and a half, however paid beyond a base salary is calculated at the Monroe County District Attorney's Office, Sandra, Doorley. Sexual harassment is the invasion of a life by hatred. And it is not easily defined, sexual harassment. Someone who says sexual harassment is and then provides a definition is limiting it. Perhaps what that person defines as sexual harassment meets the definition, but it can be anything. And it's going on right now. When I say right now, not at this minute, but right now, yesterday, last week, last month, throughout all of 2020. And it happens at offices such as yours, district attorneys and sheriff's office throughout the United States of America, not just in Rochester, in Albany, in the Capitol, with the New York Assembly, New York Senate, and governor's office on the second and third floor of the Capitol, in Washington, D.C., in the House Rayburn building, the House Cannon building, the House Longworth building, in the United States Senate, in the Senate Russell office building, and in the Senate Dirksen building. And I've been in all those buildings when I was a public employee. Every one of those buildings I've been in. Either I worked in them or I went to hearings with my colleagues. And I have seen what constitutes sexual harassment up close. I've seen female colleagues and heard female colleagues. And female colleagues tell me one-to-one how they're being harassed by their male co-workers or people that they know in that environment of Capitol Hill. One thing about Capitol Hill, if you're a public employee, and I was there for 5 years, is how insular the place is. You think about 435 members of the House of Representatives and 100 members of the United States Senate, you think it's this massive complex. And it is massive, but you will see the same people over and over and over on Capitol Hill, either doing social things or going down to the mall, being on Pennsylvania Avenue or Constitution Avenue or any of the lettered streets on Capitol Hill, such as D Street, where I lived. You see people over and over and over. So, I'm telling you this, not for narcissism, because I've been a public employee. And I've heard female public employees tell me how they were being harassed. Have you used taxpayer dollars to settle employment-related discrimination lawsuits, Sandra, Doorley, Todd, Baxter, for failure to comply with the Civil Rights of 1964? The cost of taxpayers of Monroe County Sheriff expended Todd Baxter spending taxpayers on employment-related discrimination laws was fair to comply with Title VII of the Civil Rights Act of 1964. This is the law here. The Civil Rights Act of 1964 arguably is the most important and consequential legislation ever passed by my former employers. And it was a monumental struggle because of the filibuster and because of what corrupt racists and segregationists like Strom Thurmond were doing with the filibuster. I believe he holds, or he's up there with the record for the filibuster. He's filibustering civil rights legislation that was eventually signed by President Lyndon Johnson in 1964. What's the answer to these questions in his Freedom of Information law? Sheriff Todd Baxter and District Attorney Sandra Doorley. Because if you have used taxpayer dollars because you have your employees sexually harassing other employees, then that requires the attention of every government agency in Albany and Washington, D.C. that has jurisdiction over such a crime. A surveillance device is a camera that is used to capture images of human beings and objects. And there are mentally ill people who believe that they are under surveillance by the government, and no government employee knows what these individuals are talking about. And in the United States, this happens frequently enough where I see people on television or read about them in the newspaper or online where they say I'm under surveillance, and there is not a single person that understands or knows what this person making such a claim is talking about because they're mentally ill. And you know that at the sheriff's office and district attorney's office, and that's why you're calling Lindsey Barron to come to my residence, Michael Radlin, Kathleen Millen, William Tadeo, and Scott Alberti, because I've used the phrase surveillance device. You bought one. You bought a surveillance device, and if you drive down Penfield Road and come to my residence, 26 Sanders Farm Drive, and walk through the parking lot next to my residence, you will see that surveillance device that you bought, Todd Baxter. You will see it on that building right here. You walk through this park like this is right up there and have multiple photos of it. You bought it because I was on it. It was on the phone of your Monroe County Sheriff Office employee. This is the parking lot that 17.9 million Americans can walk through except me because these parasites, Layla Kumar and Neeraj Shah. Where do you live, Layla Kumar Shah? Where do you live, Neeraj Shah? You can't ask District Attorney Sandra Doorley and Sheriff Todd Baxter for the answer to that question because District Attorney Sandra Doorley and Sheriff Todd Baxter don't know they live in the United States either. So it's on this building. Still on that building. So you buy a surveillance device for me. It's on the phone, and the minute I saw this video image of me on the phone of your whack job, Todd, I was emailing you at your office from my mail.com account. Email 50 times. Send me that video. And then I came to your office. And your employee knew right away what I was talking about. And you'll lie about it because of the use of the phrase surveillance device. It's your fucking surveillance device, you bald-headed, party-switching, corrupt hack. And you finally admitted it. Because my public defender, Regina Harper, sent me the links to it. This is it right here. That's not the high-resolution photo, but that's it. And I'm going to send you the high-resolution photo. Again, why the New York State Controller needs to come to your Monroe County Sheriff's Office and ask you how you are expending taxpayer dollars, Sheriff Todd Baxter. I was on your Facebook page, and it's sickening to be on your Facebook page. And I saw this one picture of your 10 employees, and they were wearing wetsuits underwater in a pool. And there was equipment in front of them. The American flag was in the background. I'm staring at this picture of your 10 public employees in a pool. I'm thinking, what is wrong with You, Todd Baxter. Did someone come to you at the sheriff's office and say, this is what we did yesterday or over the weekend? If it was over the weekend and on private time, that's a different situation than it being during normal work hours, and that's what I'm demanding from you. Was this photograph, I'm going to show you, I'm going to read this Freedom of Information Law, done during the normal working hours, the business hours of the Monroe County Sheriff's Office, and were you aware of it? And what's the purpose of it? Because these 10 public employees I'm going to show you when I read the Freedom of Information Law are not in vehicles, they're not on the road, they're not anywhere in Monroe County, they're not investigating a case, they're not arresting anyone. People that have committed crimes, party switching, bald-headed fraud, Todd Baxter. They're underwater in a pool, your 10 public employees. Why? Training exercise, that's what I'm told. You'll lie, you'll say anything. Say anything at the Monroe County Sheriff's Office. Cost of taxpayers photography session approved by Monroe County Sheriff Todd Baxter, photograph 10 public employees underwater in a pool. Were you aware that this photograph was taken? Were taxpayer dollars expended from it? If it's a training exercise, if this is a training exercise, then this is done during the working hours for Monroe County Sheriff Office employees when they're being paid taxpayer dollars. What's the answer to that question, Todd Baxter? You will refuse to answer. But when I contact the New York State Controller's Office, I'm going to encourage the New York State Controller's Office to ask you that same question. Because you need to sit down with the Controller, the Attorney General, among others, to be forced to answer questions such as this next one here and the expenditure of taxpayer dollars. Freedom of Information Law. The cost for a hotel and plane ticket for Monroe County Sheriff employee Ryan Fisher attended the Super Bowl in Atlanta, Georgia, February 3rd, 2019, with his canine dog Lola. I lived in the South 2 years and 4 months in Kentucky. And the thing that I was struck as a New Yorker, and what's better than being a New Yorker, of course, is how different the South is and Kentucky is from Long Island and upstate New York, and New York City and Albany. And New York, as you know, has different parts of it, and people speak differently and have different experiences. And when I was in Kentucky, it was an alien state to me. Everything in Kentucky, everywhere I went, when I was off base from the 101st Airborne Division, which is where I was alien to me. Including 41A that went in front of the 101st, Clarksville, Tennessee, that's the nearest town, Hopkinsville, Kentucky, that's where the movie theaters were. Everything in Kentucky was alien. Not in a bad way when I say alien. It's just when you're a New Yorker and your entire experience at 19 years old is Long Island and New York City. When you're in Kentucky, you're thinking, what the hell's going on here? So the reason why I tell you about Kentucky, Todd, is that you sent Monroe County Sheriff Office employee, the heroic Ryan Fisher, to Atlanta, Georgia with his canine dog Lola. There he is. That's Mercedes-Benz Stadium. This is your employee in uniform in Atlanta, Georgia. How much was the hotel? How much was the plane ticket? How much was it for the care and feeding of his dog Lola? Why was he here? Department of Homeland Security? You should have just said no. Ryan Fisher is going to work in Rochester, Monroe County. No, he's not going to Atlanta, Georgia. This is a junket, Todd Baxter. A junket outrageous taxpayers. A junket makes the blood boil for taxpayers and citizens and voters. When you run for re-election, please run for re-election. I'm going to come to your events relentlessly. Every day, I'm going to look at your schedule when you run for re-election. Find out when you're on. This is one of the things I'm going to come to your events with. And I hope there's a room with 500 people and you get a speech, because this is one of the things that's going to hold up. Why are you sending Ryan Fisher to Atlanta, Georgia? Here he is with his beautiful German Shepherd, Lola. Where did the dog stay? Did the dog stay in a hotel with Ryan Fisher? I'm trying not to laugh when I say that. I really am trying not to laugh right now. Where did he care for his dog? How was the dog transported? Was the dog on the flight? I don't fly because I'm afraid to fly. I take everything to the train, the bus. When I go to see my mom and dad in Virginia, that's it. Anyway, the reason why I say that, how did Lola get down there? Was Ryan Fisher's dog, Lola, on the plane with Ryan Fisher? And as I don't fly, I don't know if you can take an animal on the plane. Did he drive down there? Did he take a bus? How did he get to Atlanta, Georgia? How did your employee, party-switching, bald-headed fraud, Todd Baxter, Ryan Fisher, get to Atlanta, Georgia with his canine dog, Lola? Drink champagne, it tastes just like cherry cola. And you want people to know that your employee, Ryan Fisher, is in Atlanta, Georgia. Someone at your office, Kathleen Miller, Michael Radler, William Tadeo, Scott Alberti, I don't know, wrote this tweet, but somebody did. Because you're tweeting about it. You want people to know. Quote, as we get ready to watch Super Bowl, we're grateful to the men and women, scientific fans who play safe in Atlanta, including MCSO's Deputy Ryan Fisher and Canine Lola. Deputy Fisher sent this photo from Atlanta. Thank you both for your service. Deputy Fisher sent this photo from Atlanta. That means this guy told someone, take my picture of me and my dog Lola in front of Mercedes-Benz Stadium because I, Ryan Fisher, want to send this photograph of myself to the Monroe County Sheriff's Office from Atlanta, Georgia, with its fucking stars and bars and disgusting, sickening history of racism and segregation to the Monroe County Sheriff's Office at 130 South Plymouth Avenue in Rochester. How much did you spend for the plane ticket? How much did you spend for the hotel? How much did you spend for the care and feeding of his dog, Lola? You refuse to answer every one of those questions. Demands. You, Todd Baxter, are overweight. I don't know what you look like now. Because you can lose weight instantaneously. When I say instantaneously, bang, in 2 weeks, you can get 10 pounds right off you. I'm looking at photograph after photograph after photograph of you, and the conclusion is obvious. You're at least 10 pounds overweight, and you're perhaps 20 pounds overweight from the photographs I've seen of you. So, if you got yourself in shape, good, because you should be in shape. Set the example of what you should look like. And I've seen your employees, and there are a number of them that look like they are just in tremendous shape. They look like Superman. They look terrific in their uniforms. And that's the way you should look because there is pride in appearance. And when I was in the Army, you take the PT test, the push-ups, the sit-ups, the 2-mile run. And if you don't do the required number of push-ups, sit-ups, and complete the 2-mile run at a certain time, you flag. And you cannot do anything. You are a non-soldier when you're flagged. Do you do anything like that? It's a bureaucratic device that punishes your public employees, such as a flag, when they're overweight. You cannot do your job and function in the violent universe of law enforcement when you're overweight. What do you not understand about this, Todd Baxter? Freedom of information law. And what you don't understand is how to answer this question. What are the physical training standards and requirements at the Monroe County Sheriff's Office, Todd Baxter? I'll tell you the answer. And you know the answer. You know the answer. There are none. Date and year, Monroe County Sheriff Todd Baxter rehired Michael Radler after his 20-plus year career with the Sheriff's Office ended. I thought he was a double dipper because he was employed, retired, and then suddenly there he is again existing at the Monroe County Sheriff's Office. And then when I went to the payroll, I looked right for his name, $0. So he's not a double dipper. Are you Michael Radler paid any sum of money to go to work at the Monroe County Sheriff's Office? Why are you going into the office to be paid $0? This is what you will refuse to answer. Your boss, Sheriff Todd Baxter, will refuse to answer. And when I contact the state controller's office, this is going to be one of the questions for you to answer, Todd Baxter. How do you have a $0 employee there? And what does a $0 employee do? And how does a $0 employee have any credibility at the office when people now know because of me that he makes $0? $0. You don't even get 1 penny, 1 nickel, 1 dime, Michael Radler. Such a joke, a disgrace, a buffoon, Todd Baxter. Jail's a public facility. What are the names and charges of the individuals at your jail? You have murderers and other violent criminals walking around that jail with innocent Americans like me that have never committed a crime. So this is what you need to do immediately, Todd Baxter. You need to go to your jail with your employees, 2, 3, 4, 5 employees that you trust, and walk in there to see what it's like. and then segregate your inmates. The violent from the non-violent. And that's easy to do because you can see the charge. You have one part of the jail where you have the violent, those accused of violent crimes, pardon me, and then those accused of non-violent crimes to keep them away from each other for their own safety. If I read in the future a news story that one inmate attacked another inmate at your jail, I'd like to know if it was someone that is in there for a violent crime and attack somebody that's not violent. Separate your inmates. You have to be told this. I'm in there as an innocent man. I'm listening to these violent inmates talk about how they commit violence upon innocent citizens. I'm in there with 80-year-old Bob. You got an 80-year-old man in there walking around next to the tattooed gang members. And at first I didn't believe that they were gang members. And then I heard them talking about their gangs. I don't know if they're MS-13 or other violent gang like that. But when you're talking about your gang and you got tattoos up and down your arms, and it's obvious you have no education whatsoever, that's in all likelihood a gang member. 80-year-old Bob is walking around next to the tattooed gang members. And perhaps you, Todd, have heard of MS-13. This invasion of the United States of America by MS-13. Do you have gang members at your jail? Are you aware of MS-13 being at Monroe County Jail? I'll write that to you in detail too. And what you're going to do is when I ask you, are you aware of MS-13 being at Monroe County Jail? Is MS-13 at Monroe County Jail? You refuse to answer. Either because you know the answer is yes, you refuse to answer, or you were such a pathetic, joke, and incompetent and ignoramus, you don't know MS-13's at your jail and you don't give a damn. Send me your name, Sandra Doorley. Send me your name, Perry Duckles. Does it matter to you, Perry Duckles? You're a prosecutor in talk in court. Does it matter to you? You're refusing to provide me her name? Not one word, not one sound, not one syllable. Because I never committed a crime. Tell me her name, Perry Duckles. Documentation for the case of Christopher Chichester with John P. Lomenzo Jr. in Pembroke Town Court. What's the name of the prosecutor, Sandra? Send me the name. Total silence, Perry. Speaking of total silence, it's not the first time that there's total silence. This insane descent on my life by Sheriff Todd Baxter's fanatics, degenerates, sociopath. He's the second one that doesn't talk. You know why? Because I haven't committed a crime. Do you understand me, Perry? What's the name of this boy? Tell me his name. What's the name of this 5'2" three-piece suit boy? Documentation for the case of Christopher Chichester before Paul Metz from Penfield Town Court. What is the name of the prosecutor, Sandra Doorley? Send me your name. It's 14 in here. And what you're going to do is refuse to comply with every one. And Todd, there's one employee in particular that I'm concerned about at the sheriff's office. You need to counsel this employee immediately because he is a threat to the health and safety and well-being of everyone at the Monroe County Sheriff's Office. I am greatly concerned about your employee, Todd. This is Monroe County Sheriff's Office employee Patrick Bateman. And as you can see, Todd, he's got a big knife here, and that really gives me tremendous concern. And he's on this movie poster here, Monroe County Sheriff's Office employee Patrick Bateman. It says here, killer looks, and you see he's got his reflection here in his big knife. That's how big that knife is, Todd, because he's got his reflection in there. Your employee, Monroe County Sheriff's Office employee Patrick Bateman, can see himself in his big knife here, and because he's an American psycho, and you're an American psycho, Todd. And Monroe County Sheriff's Office employee Patrick Bateman is a big fan of 80s music, Todd. And I have a quote here from him. This is what your employee, Monroe County Sheriff's Office employee Patrick Bateman said to you, Todd. He wants to know about your musical tastes. And this is what he said to you, Todd. Quote, do you like Huey Lewis in the News? Their really work was a little too new wave for my tastes. But when sports came out in 1983, I think they really came into their own commercially and artistically. The whole album has a clear, crisp sound and a new sheen of consummate professionalism that really gives the song a big boost. He's been compared to Elvis Costello, but I think Huey has a far more bitter, cynical sense of humor. So he's obviously crazy, like you, Todd, with your big knife. Because, you're putting a surveillance device on that building at 2025 Penfield, lying about it. So he cites Elvis Costello and then the great Elvis Costello. And I need to tell you something, Todd. My name is true. So I'm walking through the parking lot with this whack job, Nayraj Shah. This is his accusatory instrument. Laugh this guy out of the room, this coffee stain document. How is Shannon Meyer still employed? People, again, today, I've been up since 6 a.m. I went for my run. I came back here, walked through that parking lot here all day long. They're going to walk through that parking lot. How many of these people are going to be arrested? That's it. If I walk through this parking lot tomorrow, the next day, in the next week, one time, your fanatics, degenerates, and sociopaths will come and arrest me. Because of this psychopath, Nayraj Shah, and his mommy, Layla Kumar Shah. Despite the fact that I've walked through this parking lot 4,000 times. Because I'm walking through the parking lot one day for 4,000 times, just like my excellent friend that lives next to me, just like my neighbors here on Sanders Farm Drive, just like the elderly woman across the street. She's the one you hate in your bushes. All these people walk through this parking lot. They're only going to you about me. So I'm walking through the parking lot, and I hear this screaming from behind me. Isn't that right, Nayraj? You were just about to go back inside with your mommy. This 50-plus-year-old Nayraj lives with his mommy, Layla Kumar. So Nayraj, walk through the parking lot for 4,000 times, and then you're screaming in your car, Nayraj, screaming in your car. This is the screen by Norwegian painter Edvard Munch. All right? Now, Nayraj, this painting is by a Norwegian painter. And he knows he doesn't live in the United States of America, Edward Munch, and you don't know that you live in the United States of America, Nayraj. Got that, baby? So here's Nayraj going to you about me walking through the parking lot, but not anybody else. Why is Shannon Meyer still employed? That's a defendant. This is the accusatory instrument. I'm a defendant on a piece of paper. That's a defendant. How am I, Sandra Doyle? Perry Duckles, Perry, baby. See this document here, the accusatory instrument has me as a defendant when I've never been in a courtroom when this lie was written. How does that happen? This is the incoherence of $67,000 Shannon Meyer. Fire her ass, Todd Baxter and Andrew Reale. That's the defendant. I'm a defendant on a piece of paper when I've never been in a courtroom as a defendant. I've been in a courtroom one time prior to this. I was driving to the Capitol in Albany. I received a speeding ticket for going about 5 miles over. I went to Albany City Hall with my attorney. A friend set me up with. It was dismissed. That's it. I didn't suddenly become a criminal. That's the defendant. To knowingly enter or remain unlawfully in upon the premises 2041 Penfield, New York by walking through the park and being told by certified mail by the police is not allowed on property. By the police. Oh. Again, you're total incoherence and buffoonery. I'm told by the police. It's not even a name here. Nobody told me anything. Another lie. Lie after lie after lie. From your fanatics, degenerates, and sociopaths, Todd Baxter. And you're a fanatic and degenerate sociopath. This is it right here. And I took each sentence, and I responded to each sentence, and I've sent that to you. In the documents that you have signed for numerous times, and this is it. Why is Shannon Meyer and her $67,000 fleecing of the taxpayers still employed? Why? Fire her pathetic ass. And speaking of firing someone, $79,000 Andrew Reale. I go to PW Fitness. I'm on the bench press. Up walks to me gym psychopath Jermaine Benman. He goes like this. I don't acknowledge this guy at the gym. He stands over me, punches down. My head snaps back violently. As he's walking away, I'm looking at his head. And I'm thinking, respond and attack him. And I didn't. I should have embraced violence that day. I should have been the most violent person in Monroe County in New York, in the United States of America, by attacking Jermaine Benman, because then it's just another fight at the gym. And I've seen fights at the gym because of people like this guy, Jermaine Benman. We go out to the car. Andrew Reale, since he's been to my residence, knows who I am, decides I'm going to concoct a crime for Chris Chichester. $79,000 Andrew Yalley decides he's going to concoct a crime for me. What would you think if what's going to happen to me happened to Kevin Baxter? What would you think is what's going to happen to me happened to Zachary Baxter? I bet your wife would be enraged if Kevin Baxter, Zachary Baxter, was charged with harassment second by Andrew Yalley, sitting in the back seat of a Monroe County Sheriff Office vehicle. We go outside. Yalley tells me to sit in the backseat of the vehicle. He's talking to Bedman in front of his vehicle. He walks Bedman around to the side of the vehicle. Bedman says, I want to press charges against you. And with those 7 words, I'm charged with harassment second. Who am I harassing, Todd Baxter? You refuse to answer. You can't answer that. Harassment second, the handwriting, $79,000 Andrew Yalley. What's the name of the human being I'm harassing being charged with harassment second? You can't answer that. And you refuse to answer that. And it's totally irrelevant to you. Does not matter to you. Also does not matter to you. I've never heard Miranda versus Arizona. Ever. Are you familiar with this 1966 Supreme Court decision, Todd? You have the right to remain silent. Does that occur to you? Never. I've been delivered to jail twice as an innocent man. Concoct some crimes for me. I've never heard Miranda. When Shannon Meyer fell down in my backyard dirt, you're lying to me at my front door. We just want to talk to you outside. I go outside, the handcuffs go on. You take me to your jail. You handcuff me. Inside the jail cell, I couldn't reach the urinal. I urinated on myself. That was after I was sitting in the car handcuffed. I urinated on myself in the car, in your vehicle. Never heard Miranda. Why? Doesn't matter to you. This is arguably the most important Supreme Court decision of the 20th century because it protects the rights of every single citizen in the United States of America. And you, Sandra, Doorley, and Todd Baxter live in the United States of America, even though I don't consider either one of you Americans. That's it right there. Miranda versus Arizona. Miranda versus Arizona was a landmark decision of the U.S. Supreme Court in which the court ruled that Fifth Amendment, the United States Constitution, prevents prosecutors from using personal statements made in response to interrogation and police custody as evidence of the trial unless they can show that the person informed the right to consult with an attorney. The right to consult with an attorney. Didn't hear anything. I already know this right. I know it exists. Nothing from you. Why? You are obligated, mandated to provide me with Miranda. Didn't hear it all. Didn't hear anything. Not one word. This is June 26, 2020. Every Freedom of Information law that I read, you received on June 26th. And then you received it on June 24th and June 22nd. Sweetheart, Sandra, do you have to go on TV to talk about the Craig Rideout murder? What are you doing on TV on Dateline Secrets Uncovered talking about that case? I'm repulsed by this fascination with murder on television night after night after night. There is show after show after show about a murder because it's ratings. What did the family of Craig Rideout think when there you are in all your perversion talking about Laura Rideout and Craig Tucci? What did the family of Craig Rideout think? Listening to you, you think they need to be reminded of that heinous act? When I go to Gold's Gym down on 9 Mile Road, I walk right by that housing development where the life of Craig Rideout was taken, this innocent man. I walk right by it. And I will occasionally think about him when I see it. I mean, he was murdered right there in his basement. And there you are, Sandra Doorley, on TV reminding the people that love Craig Rideout of this sickening act. Why? Why are you on TV talking about Craig Rideout instead of doing your job? And your job as a district attorney is to prosecute real criminals because you want to be on television, because you're this pathetic Suzanne Stone mutation for To Die For. That's you. To Die For on television. Sandra Doorley, Monroe County District Attorney, wants to be Suzanne Stone. So in the future, when you're called to be on TV about any murder, decline. I have to tell you how to do your job. You don't even know this. It doesn't even occur to you when you get that phone call from a network such as Dateline NBC or any of these cable networks to say no, because you want to be on television. That's why. Because you think it's good for your profile to get your name out there. Talking about murder. Do your job, Sandra Doorley. I have a check for $61.39 because your employee attacked and assaulted me right in front of a Wegmans pharmacy entrance at 2157 Penfield Road. What's his name? You have 11 witnesses to this. I'll write to you about this in detail along when I contact the United States Department of Justice. He lowered his shoulder, ran at me, drove his shoulder into the small of my back. My head hit the concrete pavement, and then I had to go to the hospital for an MRI. This is called a crime, Todd Baxter. What's the name of your public employee that did this to me, that attacked and assaulted me? Now, Todd, I'm really delighted that you're starring in this new film here. I mean, you were terrific here. Dirty Harry. You're just like him, Todd. And Sandra, here you are in your little nurse's outfit there at the district attorney's office, because you should be working in a mental health ward because you got to have some type of mental health affliction where you're refusing to tell me the name of your public employee that's in Penfield Town Court. Don't talk. Total silence. What are their names? What's the name of this female the first time before John P. Lomenzo Jr.? What's the name of this boy that works for you? These are your employees, a public proceeding. And you're refusing to tell me the names of each. Lee LaRoque came in. Who's Lee LaRoque, Todd Baxter? I get back finally, and these blue gloves are on the floor. They went berserk in here. These are Lee LaRoque's blue gloves. Who is Lee LaRoque? Having been made this day, proof by affidavit, pardon me. What's proof by affidavit? What does that mean? Where's the affidavit? I want to see this affidavit. Proof by affidavit right there. Those 3 words. Proof by affidavit. Let me see it. Freedom of information law. It's going to be another thing that I demand from you. And it's going to be another thing you refuse to provide me. Proof by affidavit gets you into my residence with Lee LaRoque with these blue gloves to look for, wait for a hammer. Yeah, you heard that right. You took my laptop, my Chromebook out of my residence. Lee LaRoque was in here with blue gloves looking for a hammer, and then she exited with my Chromebook. Proof by affidavit. I want to know if this proof by affidavit exists. You just came in here. Giuseppe Spano and Nino Spano are my landlords, and I'm being evicted. Because I'm confident that Giuseppe and Nino were enraged that they had to let Lee LaRoque in. I'm being evicted by Lee LaRoque being in here with her blue gloves. Proof by affidavit. Perry Duckles and your $129,000 salary. What do you think about proof by affidavit? I want to see this proof by affidavit. And what Sheriff Todd Baxter is going to do is refuse. How do you get in here by proof by affidavit? What I want to know if this is just total fiction. When I was calling a surveillance device, and you were calling Lindsey Barron from the Monroe County Office of Mental Health to come to my house, you were refusing to provide me with the footage. 4L4L4, send it to me, and what I was receiving is these cards. Monroe County Office of Communication and Special Events is 1. And it says on the back, Freedom of Information Reply. And you were refusing. Monroe County Office of Special Events. Again, Freedom of Information Law, Monroe County Office of Special Events, you were refusing. FOIL. Both of those are FOILs. FOIL. Freedom of Information Reply. It says on the back. Freedom of Information Reply. So I'm demanding the video footage of me. You're refusing to send it to me. And I'm getting these cards in the mail. So? And then I finally saw the footage. And I'm not committing a crime on anything, either the body camera footage or the footage from the wait for it surveillance device you bought. How much did you pay for that, Todd? This is your sick, lunatic friend's disgusting, nauseating existence. Putting a camera on a building for me, for one citizen. Because these 2 psychopaths, Neeraj and Leila Kumar Shah. And the other image I'm waiting for is when I came outside. I stood here, said, nobody owns Atlanta, walk in my house. How's that a crime? And that video image was on the phone of your employee. FOIL. Email, or send me the video when you refuse. Now, did you withhold it or destroy it? Either withholding it, it still exists. And what do you think the United States Department of Justice is going to think about that, Todd Baxter? Or you destroyed it. And what do you think the United States Department of Justice is going to think about that? Where's the video of me the first time? That was on the phone that has an assigned number. And when I came to your office, you employed me right away. Accountability is up to you. So, this is it. Professional Ambulance Billing LLC. Of course, when you refuse to pay, like me, because I'm not paying it, bill. Again, Professional Billing LLC. That's from Giuseppe and Nino Spano, my landlords. This is what you're doing to me. This is what you have done to me. Dear Christopher, 90-day notice to vacate premises located 26.5 Sanders Farm Drive. Please consider this letter as your 90-day written notice to vacate 26.5 Sanders Farm Drive, New York, by January 2021 at 9 a.m. I moved here with my ex-girlfriend, Laura. I was here with my little guy. It's not paradise, but it's where I live. And I should make the decision if I want to leave or not. I'm being evicted from my residence because of you, Todd Baxter. This is what you're doing to me. Your fanaticism and your hatred. And when I was taken to Monroe County Jail the first time without committing a crime, Steve Schicker, the animal control officer in the town of Penfield, had to come into my residence. Because when I was at the jail, I went up to your employee, this perfect man. I said, somebody needs to go to my residence. And I had a key taped to my back porch. I knew it was there. And he came to my house. And this is Steve Schicker coming into my house. The defendant resides at 26 Sanders Farm Drive in Penfield. He resides there alone with an unlicensed black and white Shih Tzu dog. That's not true. The dog is licensed, always has been. Because I got him from Lollipop Farm Humane Society and he gave me all the paperwork. You can't even, when you have to come into my residence, you're telling lies about my dog coming in here. You can't even get that right. Unlicensed. He was with me for 7 years at that point, unlicensed. It's such a joke. Facts are fiction at the sheriff's office. So, you, Sheriff Todd Baxter, and you, District Attorney Sandra Doorley, party switching, say anything frauds, will refuse to comply with this Freedom of Information law on November 25th that I read. You refused the same documentation on November 23rd, the same documentation on November 23rd, same documentation on November 21st, same documentation on November 19th, same documentation on November 17th, same documentation on November 15th. So, there it is. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 times since November 15th. 6 times since November 15th, I've demanded public employee payroll for the district attorney's office, public employee payroll for the sheriff's office. And you're going to refuse to comply with each. My name is Christopher Chichester. I live at 26 Sanders Farm Drive in Penfield. I have never committed a crime. And whatever doesn't kill you makes you stronger.